Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships. We are in Shards and Domination mode here in Randoms Battle on the EU server, as I have been grinding up the light cruiser American line. And I've actually never featured the Tier VIII Cleveland here ever before on this YouTube channel. So probably because it was one of the first lines I grinded up in the game before I eventually, over a year later, started the YouTube channel. But here we are. I'm going to go ahead and turn some the volume battle music on, so a little more exciting here. But this was a interesting battle because, as in the title, I think I've titled it this way, it will be USS Cleveland versus 2 submarines, something of that effect in nature. So they're going to be hunting us, and we're going to be hunting them. A little bit of a vice versa thing there once they realize that you don't mess with the wrong ship. So Cleveland is a really nice step up from the Helena, which we featured not too long ago, as she has 12 152mm guns. Now the difference as we come up to these 12 152mm guns is that these pin 30mm versus Helena, which pins slightly less. So you could actually take IFHE here and you'd pin 37mm, which means we're pinning above 32mm threshold, which most battleships and a lot of cruisers have here at the Tier 8, Tier 9, Tier 10 meta. So we're going to actually get, we're going to misplay here at the start, and we're going to get rather punished for the mistake that we make, but we'll do okay overall, all right? So we don't want to stay around in the middle. We don't have any destroyers supporting us, right? You can see Bravo's already being flipped. So the goal is to move to the flank. Let's use some island coverage. Now, as you go from Helena, of course, up to the Cleveland, the difference here is that you get radar. We still don't get any repair parties, but we do get a 9-kilometer radar, American radar, so it tends to last a little bit longer than maybe some of the other counterparts, like, you know, the Russian cruisers, but there's a 12-kilometer typically, and then of course a shorter duration time because of having that longer reach. So we're going to get spotted here from the get-go, and we have the what is this, the U-190 here, who's already coming in. And like the Helena, we have air-based ASW, and I'm not sure if he was going for the battleships originally and utilizing the torpedoes there, but we messed up here. We DCP'd way too early, meaning that we're just not going to be able to avoid all these torpedoes. You have to, this is the mistake I make, because you have to exercise restraint because of the action time on your damage control party not lasting very long. It only lasts for like a few seconds. So we're going to pick on the Leon here. We see the sub there, so we're just going to go and use the depth charge again. And we're going to want to disengage here. The Leon's laying a nice smoke screen between us and the battleship. Once I move up far enough here and get out of the way of the Leon detecting us, as we get a direct hit on that sub as we're still flooding. Still taking our time. More torpedoes to the side here because the other destroyer in Bravo. We're going to kill the throttle. We've talked about that, right? Practicing throttle juking, as that will often save you because we want to respect Key's guns. So let's talk a little bit about this ship. So as I said, with the main battery of 12 152mm guns that pin up to 30mm, if you can pin 37 if we take IFHE. We'll talk about that later in the upgrade commander build video on the ship. You have armor piercing. We have the another submarine now. We're just getting pinned by submarines everywhere. And so U-190 pops up again, and we want to take the shot. So we'll see what happens here. We still have a flood going on the submarine. And then now we've got the fire. Damage is still ticking. So, I don't know. So, you have the air-based ASW as we take out the first submarine, the U-190 here, and now we have to deal with the other submarine. So I'm not gonna be able to talk too much, I feel like, probably just because of how fast things are happening. But with the ASW airstrike here, it is a range of 7 kilometers, which is nice. It's again much better than the having ship-based ASW, as we try to do some blind shots here on the destroyer. So it helps you not feel like you have to get right on top of the submarine and then face getting shotgunned, right? The Benson gets a little bold. He sees that we're low and he wants to take us on. It's kind of funny seeing these destroyers. I feel like even the Helena video, you have some destroyers who just don't respect an American cruiser, especially the light cruisers with the DPM that you can punch out, right? You know, you have the same thing with Helena. You know, you're going to be utilizing islands, you're going to be utilizing smoke screens, so on and so forth. Now, we are detected here, so that's not a good sign. So now it's trying to figure out which side is the submarine on. So we're going to wait for our gunfire penalty to come down. Still waiting for it, and it's either, it has to be the sub. Okay, so we do go dark. So I was like, okay, let's not panic. Let's just sit here, and then we get detected. So we're going to pop radar. And it is now the I-56, which can pump out a lot of torpedoes, like, really fast. So we're going to get 6 pins there. We're going to drop some of our plane-based ASW, as we have a shot from the Benson. Benson's trying to pick on us again. We get a flooding on the sub. And now we're going to simply move up. I don't really want to push in anywhere direction towards the sub right now, since we have no hydroacoustic search. Will be coming off cooldown here shortly. Yeah, in terms of the consumable layout here, the hydroacoustic search we get here is a detection of ships at 5 km, detection of torpedoes at 3.5 km, so it is a step up better than the Helena. And then we get that radar, that 9 km range. If you build into the radar, you know, you can get up to past 30 seconds, 32.4, and then even a little bit more if you took consumable enhancements. And then we have defensive AA. So that really rounds out this ship quite well. Now, to briefly talk about her AA capability, if you compare with other Tier 8 cruisers, she ranks 11th in terms of her AA strength, or she's tied with the Montpellier. Otherwise, Baltimore and Rochester are going to be your top American cruisers, with D7 Provincian and the Almirante Gras taking first place in terms of AA capability. So, if I go for AA build, I do it more on Rochester than I do here on Cleveland, as we're still harassing the sub here. You know, ooh, 2 direct hits. Still harassing the Benson as he harasses us. So we're gonna go ahead and use that DCP. Slow down, because we don't want to speed away from the torpedoes, giving them the opportunity to turn in on us as they stop homing after a certain distance, regardless of where you are. And another direct hit. And another flooding. So he's picking on the wrong guy. So I was kind of surprised how aggro he was. I figured he might just go ahead and keep sailing on past and go for our battleships over on HIJ line, 1, 2, 3 line. But he doesn't seem to. He seems that he very much wants to pick this fight with us. So looking in for him, and you can actually even see that this the ASW strike range, as we get another direct hit. How tanky is this submarine? Is much larger. It's like double the size of Helena, meaning that, you know, Cleveland definitely outpaces Helena in terms of her ability to deal with submarines, and of course enemy destroyers there as well. So meantime, our sub takes out the Benson, who'd been harassing us, so that's rather humorous. And then we've taken out the I-56. So, finally dead after many, many hits between ASW, sending some fires, getting some penetration hits. And it's like, man, were we really helpful to our team? But yes, we got rid of the submarines. We prevented that I-56 from getting around to deal with our ships on the flank, as we were going to do our due diligence in helping reduce the karma of sub players here in World of Warships. That is the tax. That's the submarine. If you didn't know, that's the submarine tax. If you play submarines in World of Warships, your tax is your karma goes down. That's just how it is for me. But interested to see, as I record this, is beginning update 13.0, so I have to see what the ASW and aircraft changes look like. But we mostly played well there in dealing with most submarines. So that's when your skill really becomes to kick in. But if we had ship-based ASW, we would have died for sure. No doubt the I-56 would have just shotgunned us. But playing off the island, having the hydroacoustic search really helped us out. And then, of course, seeing his Oro slicks and repeatedly being able to drop the ASWs on him was really helpful. Like, that was the big difference, right? So when you have other cruisers in the game that just have the ship-based ASW, I mean, you're inviting to get shotgunned, even though Wargaming said only a minority of the player base was taking advantage of it. And then just, no, like, that's just simply not the case at all. A lot of players take advantage of it. And even an okay submarine player, you know, can really push out Unicum, Super Unicum players just because of their presence and just capability to just torpedo endlessly. But as you saw here, we demonstrated shooting over the corner of the island with the shell arcs here in Cleveland. That's often what you want to be looking for opportunities to do so when you're utilizing islands and coverage. I mean, now we're kind of gliding out here. We're likely to get detected here in just a moment, but Tirpitz isn't concentrated on us. And so, you know, we are angled away if we need to accelerate. You can even look at possibly reversing back into the island. But some secondaries are coming in because we're just within the secondary range. So then let's go ahead and let's open the range. So we're just going to continue getting shots in here as the Hawk goes in. Hawk is like, I've got torpedoes too. And Tirpitz takes out the Hawk with his main battery. So that's mostly wrapped up things here on this flank. So now we're going to see if we can go get the cap in time. We don't really need to try to play more aggro here. It's just the, I think it's, is it still, is that, yeah, the Leon is still alive. And then we have the North Carolina there in the background. So we're having the 2 sub kills, having some defended ribbons, you know, and grinding Cleveland as like anything I can do to help boost the base XP. Getting a cap is definitely going to help boost our base XP. Now, I go ahead because a typical thing is, you know, if you don't know where the NVIDIA destroyer is, like, right, he could be coming between us and Bravo. We go ahead and pop hydroacoustic search just in case, and indeed, there he is, just over there to the right. So it's just a good safety measure, especially I think if we took 1 torpedo, we probably wouldn't make it. Maybe would take 2, because we don't have too much of a torpedo belt protection. With that being said, we're going to get up here and see if we can get some shots on the Leon, because I'm pretty sure we're outside of his torpedo range now, unless he just dumped them off earlier, but I'm pretty sure he's probably dumped them into Bravo as the Anemone takes them out. Leon's only tier 6, so your lower tier, your mid-tier destroyers tend to not have a very long torpedo range. Generally speaking, that's not always the case, but just generally speaking. So here, we're going to slow down and get behind this island here. And see if we can get our forward main battery turrets over the front part of this island as the North Carolina is pushing back in. It looks like actually we can be able to get most of the turrets off if we position well here. But he's going to go down from the Amagi and getting a nice salvo in. So North Carolina really didn't have anywhere else to go, so he just kind of showed broadside to the whole team as we get the solo cap. So going into post-battle results. So 75,000 damage, 2 destroyed, 3 defended, solo cap, 7 depth charge hits, with a nice amount of experience, 18,251 in total. So how do you think we fared with the base XP? Well, with base XP, we're actually going to end up topping the team. Our U190 with his base XP booster built in gets second on the team. But we're going to end with 2,190 base experience. Then going into the detailed report, we took almost 28,000 damage. Between the damage we done to submarines, so it was over 30k, just between the 2 of them, and then spread out between the battleships and some of those destroyers there, as you were seeing here. And just over 500,000 potential damage. This is what it looks like with premium count, all said and done. So Cleveland versus 2 submarines. Cleveland, I would much rather be in than compared to another Tier 8 cruiser that has just ship-based. When I say ship-based ASW, I just mean like depth charges that launch from the rear of your ship versus having the plane-based ASW. It just makes it so much easier and so much better to deal with submarines here in World Warships. You know, when you're having the hydroacoustic search, you know, we can have the radar helping us out a little bit as well. And then, of course, utilizing islands. You really, typically, when you're having to deal with subs like we did in this battle, you really want to have a buffer zone between you and them, because it makes it more difficult for them, right? Because they pretty much have to be more bow on in getting their torpedoes off on you effectively. So it makes it a little funky for them having to come around the islands versus if we had just had to chase him and we were just out in the open, right? We would have totally been shotgunned by the I-56 on the enemy team. I do not doubt that at all. It has happened to me before. So if you liked today's battle, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I would appreciate it. We'll do an upgrade commander build video on the Cleveland as well. And also a shout out as thanks to my Patreon supporters. So until next time, take care.